live. Here we are. We're live. I do this every time. Well, here we are. Episode number 105 of Mirrorless Minutes. I've got Mike on the other side, and Mike is again in familiar digs, which is good to see.
Yeah,
how's it going over there?
In fact, I forgot to tell you, but I can tell you now though. See behind me?
Nice.
All these poster boards printed. London Drugs, where I was in Vancouver a few weeks ago, had all that printed for me while I was doing my presentation. And I said, "Well, what are you going to do with those?" They didn't even know. I said, "Well, I'll take them."
Oh, very cool.
I mean, they're huge. I got one above the thing. A bunch of Philly shots from our Philly workshop is above my computer here.
Sweet.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, I just put some Velcro on behind. So I want to show the lenses and the cameras. I do that. It's nice to have a photo once in a while.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. So before coming on tonight, I told my wife, I said, "Well, I've got the show tonight because we didn't do it last night. Right. It just didn't work out." And her first thing she says is, "You've got all that crap laying around from like the last 2 weeks of shooting. Are you going to pick it up? Do you have time?" I said, "No, people are just going to have to see how much crap I have laying around. Well, yeah. It'd be nice to have a wall to hide it."
Right, and if you were to look real hard, all this little stuff is a fake wall up on it. You can't see me doing my mouse, but on my right shoulder, it's all a fake wall. Oh, shit. Well, I should have said.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. We appreciate the comment in the chat room about our rooms looking messy. Yeah. It just kind of happens to be, maybe I'm messy. It's supposed to be a sign of intelligence, isn't it? That's my thing, and I'm going to stick to it.
Creativity.
So I guess tonight we got a few different things to talk about. One of the ones that actually I'm really excited to hear Mike talk about this, and hopefully he's got information on it, because I have been swamped at my day job and haven't had time to even follow up on this news story. But Mike is an ambassador for the people who make the Insta360 cameras, and I know that they released something new this week, and I swear I really wanted to get a chance to look at it and haven't yet. So I have a feeling Mike will talk about it. Is that right?
Certain I can do that.
Good.
I wish I had it in my hand to show you, but,
yeah. In due time. Thing. Yeah, in due time for sure. So I guess we'll probably lead off with that. We'll let Mike talk about that because, because I want to hear about this new camera and what it's capable of. And I think we're going to go from there, probably talk a little bit about the 2019 plans for workshops. We're both fresh off of workshops, and I've got another small one-day event next weekend, and then that wraps up my year for workshops. And I know that we really want to get the plans rolling for 2019, and it's going to take some input from you guys. So let's kick it off, Mike. Let's hear about that camera, because I'm pretty pumped on that.
So this screen share picture, you see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. So that's the new Insta. So the Insta360 One obviously is the thing. Been out there for, I swear it felt like longer, but I looked it back, it was like August of 2017. It was released, but that was a 360 camera obviously I've been working with. This is a complete new beast. This is, I would say it's got as much new things on it as we went from the EM1 to the EM1 Mark II. Just, off the chart type stuff. But so here's to start with. One of the complaints I know, and I think that's what they've really done, is listen to people and try to address a lot of the complaints with the Insta360 One. Is you always had hooked that to your camera, and I know you know this too, Jamie. You had to hook it to your camera, to your phone, and then if you didn't have an iPhone or an iOS, it took them a long time to introduce the Android connection to it, and that even made it more, just made it more silly. It seemed like it was hard to always connect.
Hey, quick question, really quick, Mike.
Yeah.
Are you on Wi-Fi? Your audio is kind of crazy right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's real. I just told everybody you're in a bunker somewhere. So
yeah. Is that any better?
What happens? He comes back to Michigan. The audio goes to pot. Go figure.
How is that? Is that any better?
No, it's weird. It's like it almost has like an echo to it, but like distorted a little bit. It's bizarre.
Well, I just wonder if it's the volume's too high or the gain's too high.
I don't know. I don't think it's that. It's almost like your connection is slow, because the video is a little bit funky too earlier. But
how about now? I just unplugged it.
No, I think everybody's just going to have to cope with it on this episode, maybe.
All right. Well, and I can always write this stuff out too. So sorry. We'll see what I can do here. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm underwater. Not sure why. But anyways, with the new one, it hooks up by Wi-Fi now, so you can bring your photos and your videos in through Wi-Fi, extremely fast Wi-Fi. I've seen it work already, so that's a huge piece. And then the video on this records at 5.7K at 30 frames a second. It's got 50 frames per second, 4K, and 100 frames per second at 3K. So you can do some really great slow motion with it. 18 megapixel photos. Obviously, it still shoots raw and photos. It shoots log. And the stabilization, they've upped the game even better now. The stabilization is a lot better. And one of the things with the 360 is you can always point and just focus later. So you just shoot and you focus later through the app, through some of their over capture type events right inside the camera. And that's the app that they really, I guess in my sense, they've made much better now, the app on the phone. I've seen it on videos. I have not seen it in person yet. So I'm looking forward to getting it. And I think one of the things that be able to do is a lot of, actually, I see myself being able to do some good instruction, maybe some good instruction videos, maybe we'll go our workshops, and we've talked about that in the past. And one couple other quick things, it's got a battery that is removable, which is fantastic, so you can carry some extra batteries with you. And price right now is $399, and we'll have a link in the show notes, and if you use that link, it's one of my affiliate links, you'll actually get a free selfie stick, which is important to have. So, with that that selfie stick, that's what makes all the difference in the world when you're using this thing. So, definitely try to click on that link, see what you can do, and if you got questions, just let me know. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic camera. There's one little thing I didn't talk about called the drifter that you can put this thing into. Looks like a big dart, long dart, and you can actually throw it. So I'm going to stop sharing. And you can actually throw it in the air.
That's crazy.
So I don't even know yet about that. I'm thinking that I got to get with Jamie to figure out how to use that thing.
Oh yeah, my head is spinning already. I've got ideas. I really like the thought of using that for instructional videos.
Yeah.
Just because you can do the camera's facing you. Right. You're talking about something, and as you're talking about it, you can pivot the view around to the subject that you're talking about, or the camera and the settings you're working on. There's so much potential there for 360 cameras, and I don't think that the general population really realizes exactly what you could do. You just kind of got to open your mind up to what the possibilities are with
spatial. I agree. It's a spatial type thing.
For sure. We're always used to this. We're used to looking right here, and then that leads to challenges as well. I mean, if you're trying to create something where it's immersive in all directions, now the director has to be cognizant of everything that's going on around. So it's a hard thing to wrap your head around.
Yeah,
for sure.
I know. I definitely want to get that thing on a hot shoe though, because I saw somebody using one the other day on a video pointed sideways, and they're just like flipping through and doing panning. They're doing instruction.
Yeah,
That's perfect, because then you can see how he's actually pushing the trigger.
Sure.
The whole thing,
Oh yeah, it reminds me of when I was vlogging a few years back. I was taking a GoPro or a GoPro competitor, or whatever, and mounting it to the hot shoe. Exactly. But then there were shots where I was flipping into portrait orientation to shoot, and then the video goes sideways. You can totally control that with this camera. It's never an issue. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you make with it. Again, especially the dart. I want to play with that. It'll make for cool group photos at workshops. We just throw the dart up.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So I have no idea on the sound, but I'm gonna let you do more talking.
Oh, it's not hard for me to do. It's typically how I go. I just get rambling, and it's hard to shut me up. But I guess the next thing that I wanted to talk about too, though, was the 2019 workshop schedule. As everybody knows, If you're watching this, you've heard it a million times. Swing over to meetup.com/mirrorless adventures and sign up over there. At least you didn't sound like that in person. That's funny, Ken. So we want everybody to swing over there and register with our meetup group. And I'm sure most of the people here watching are already, but let your friends know and other people that you associate with that are into photography to sign up over there, because we really don't know where our workshops are landing in 2019. There's some preliminary talk. I know Mike has done a workshop with Megan this year, and they're talking about doing another workshop together. And I did one recently with Mark Miller in the Upper Peninsula here in Michigan. And Mark and I are talking about doing 2 next year, one again in the Upper Peninsula for those interested in that, and maybe another one potentially in the Smokies in the spring. But the only way you're going to find out is either watching this or, even better yet, signing up with the Mirrorless Adventures meetup group. And that way you're made aware of it when the workshops do launch, and you get first dibs at getting a spot on there, because these things do tend to fill up and sell out. We do them pretty cheap. So that's kind of why that happens. And talking about the 2019 workshop, where this is important that you're a part of it, is that Mike and I last year decided to kind of branch out from just determining ourselves where we were going to do a workshop together. And we kind of put the vote out to you guys, and everybody poured in suggestions on places to do it. And the place with the most votes is the one that won. And that's kind of what we're going to do for 2019, I think. Although I think Mike and I had talked amongst ourselves about doing it a little bit different. And that last year we opened it up and we had people say, you should go to North Korea. And we're like, no. So I think what Mike and I will probably do is we'll probably cherry pick 5 to 7 locations around the country, and then put those out there to vote, and then let you guys vote on those locations. I know we'd like to expand maybe a little bit away from where we've been doing them traditionally, which seems to be almost always just east of the Mississippi, Michigan and Philadelphia, Atlanta. We'd like to move a little further west maybe, and give the people out west a shot at going on one of these workshops with us. We get a lot of requests for us to come west. So maybe if we put options out west, they'll get upvoted enough to make that a reality. What'd you do, Mike?
Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Does it sound? I can barely hear you, but does it sound any better?
Mildly.
Yeah.
It's just a rough Google. It's a rough night for Google. I was gonna blame your audio issues on my children, because for those who don't know what the pre-show is like, it's usually me getting on, talking to Mike, and then yelling at the kids, okay, come on, just stop streaming YouTube and stop playing your video games. I want the bandwidth. So I'll just blame my kids for your issues.
If you want to do your photo share, maybe you can do that. I'll be right back.
Sure, no problem.
All right.
So like I said, swing over to meetup.com/mirrorless adventures, register over there. And at any time, reach out and just kind of let us know where you would be interested in doing a workshop. And in the meantime, stay tuned for Mike and I to get back with everybody probably towards the end of this year. We definitely want to have these locations picked out before the end of the year to give people plenty of time to plan and coordinate maybe attending one of these events. And it'll be the same, I'm sure, with his workshop with Megan and the workshops that I'm doing with Mark Miller as well. So that's the workshop stuff. We'll stop talking about that. Mike said maybe I should do photo share, and this will be interesting because at least from my point of view, it's not something that I shoot regularly. It's not anything that's in my comfort zone, I guess. But I did it. I'm a little proud of myself for getting outside of the comfort zone and photographing people. I like trees. I like birds. I like coastlines and weather and things like that. Stuff that I don't have to tell it what to do. I just kind of work with what it's doing for me. So in the town in which I was born and in which I work, Jackson, Michigan, we played host to a mural festival in which we had artists come from all over the world to do murals, building-sized murals in Jackson. And the company that I work for in my day job, we manufacture these big, powerful LED lights. So we donated lights to this event so that the artists could paint at night. And it also gave me a quote unquote excuse to get out of work early on several occasions and go photograph the event, for marketing purposes. And so when I was down there, I met up with this gentleman right here. We sponsored him, actually. His name's Adam Lucas. He's an artist based out of New York City. And he's originally from a very small town like where I live in Wisconsin. So I got to talking with him, and I realized that it was really easy to just kind of get to know the person first and then ask about taking a photo rather than walking up and saying, hey, do you mind if I take your picture? Something, again, like I said, it's a foreign thing to me. So after talking with Adam for a few minutes, and I felt comfortable enough to ask if he minded if I took a portrait of him, I realized, man, this is cool. I'm going to go around and try to photograph as many of these artists as possible. So that's what I did over the course of several days. I got out of my comfort zone and decided to photograph people. A little bit of info on this photo as far as equipment is concerned. So this was shot with the EM1 Mark II and the 45mm f1.2. Yes, I shot wide open. I was really trying to take advantage of that shallow depth of field that you can get with that lens. And this one is pretty much straight out of camera. Obviously I composited two side by side to make that look. The next one, I had come back 2 days later to photograph some more people, and I brought lighting with me. So taking a cue from Joe Edelman, I took his advice on some off-camera lighting to get, and I ended up getting the Godox 8200, it's like a gigantic hot shoe flash that's not a hot shoe flash. It's hard to explain. I'm not a lighting guy, so I won't even try to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. It's just a killer light that you can run off camera with a wireless trigger. And so I decided, not only am I going to shoot outside of my comfort zone, I'm going to shoot outside of what I would consider my normal technical zone as well. So this is shot using the Godox 8200 with a 25-inch beauty dish mounted on it that was gridded and socked, which is, I'm waiting for somebody who knows what they're doing to tell me, why would you have a grid on and then put the sock over it? But that's what I did. I really cut down on the light, really directed it with the grid. I kept spill from going off to the sides and wasting light that way. At least that's what I'm thinking it did. And then the sock just kind of toned it down so it wasn't quite as harsh. The flash was off camera, obviously held by my buddy Mark. It was camera left, up high, angled down at about a 45 at this gentleman. And this gentleman's name is Say Adams. Say is actually really well known for a lot of his work that's not murals. He did some of the original cover work for the Beastie Boys and Run DMC, and actually worked for Def Jam Records with Russell Simmons as part of their marketing team. Actually, I think he was the marketing team for quite some time. So Say was a little apprehensive when I came up with a camera, and I had a buddy next to me with a big flash with this big weird looking dish on the front of it. But using the same technique that I did working with Adam Lucas, I just kind of went up and just got to talking to him, I started asking him about, doing cover art for the Beastie Boys, told him that those guys were like legendary heroes in my mind, along with Run DMC. And we just got this dialogue going. And then once it was going, it was so easy to say, hey, so I was just wondering, would you mind if I took a quick portrait? I won't take up too much of your time. It's just really exciting to get to meet you. And he was just totally pumped on it. So I told him, I want to do something crazy too. And then he kind of looked at me weird, like, okay, what do you mean by crazy? And I told him, I just want you to take 2 cans and just give a little puff of paint, when I give you the cue to do it. And he says, well, that's not crazy, man. I'm like, all right, well, cool. Then you're on board with it. So I did one shot without the spray paint, and then did the other one where he's just kind of giving them a little puff of paint. And this was, again, same setup as before. Or I'm sorry, take that back. So this was the 25mm f1.2 on the EM1 Mark II, not the 45. The next one, oops, I'm clicking on the wrong window here, Jamie. There we go. So the next one is a local artist in Jackson who's also participating in the mural festival. His name is Edward Thayer, or Steampunk Eddie. He was actually on a TV show called Steampunked. It was like a reality show where these steampunk artists had to make things. And they actually won the show, and he's a Jackson resident. So he's kind of like our hometown celebrity, I guess, and a heck of an artist as well. And Eddie is just all about getting in front of the camera and having fun. Good friend of mine, Seth, who's been on the show before. Seth has photographed Eddie for his book, and super cool character. And he was putting on these gloves, And I said, hey, Eddie, I'm going to get another photo of you. He's like, all right, man, what do you want me to do? I said, I want you to snap that glove and give me that creepy doctor look. And he's like, oh, this is going to be fun. So that's exactly what he did. And this, believe it or not, is off-camera lighting as well. So I think it balanced out pretty good. I think. I can't tell that there's a flash shot in it. So I'm thinking that means I did a good job. I'll let somebody that's more of a pro kind of acknowledge whether that's true or not. And this was with the 25 millimeter f1.2 as well. This is one of the first shots I had taken with that flash setup as well. And this is my buddy Mark Miller, the one that I did the workshop up in the UP with. And it's funny, told Marcus, I want to work with this flash a little bit, and you've got a little more experience than I do. So let's go in this back alley here, and I'm going to take your picture. And that's kind of what we did. Mark said, yeah, this is going to be really creepy. So, again, same kind of setup. It was the 45 millimeter f1.2. My buddy Seth was holding the light at this time. It's off camera to the right, or to the left, I'm sorry, and up high, kind of aimed down low. You can see it in the catch lights in his eyes, but really exciting for me to shoot people and then incorporate something that I know nothing about. I mean, I know the basics of it, but it was still kind of fun to do some people shooting. And this last one, again, another one of the artists in Jackson. And this was the last day. The mural behind him wasn't even supposed to be done. He finished the mural he was working on before and said, hey, you guys mind if I do another mural? And of course, everybody's like, yeah, man, go for it. So no off-camera lighting on this one, but it was fun to get out that 8 millimeter f1.8 fisheye and get that thing like 2 inches away from that spray can and take that photo. And I guess that's it. I was kind of a weird thing for me to share photos of people because that's not primarily what I'm ever sharing on this show, but it made me realize that, man, it's so good to shoot things that you're not comfortable with, that you aren't really sure how to do per se. It was a learning experience for me, and it was fun. And I think that my excitement for doing it, I think it showed through to the people who I was taking the photographs of, which I think even further kind of loosened everybody up for the whole experience. But it was a blast.
That was cool. Now, does it sound better?
Yeah, way better. What'd you do?
I just put on a pair of earbuds.
That expensive Yeti mic. And
yeah, I threw that off to the side. I'm running downstairs yelling at my wife. I'm sure she's real happy, like she had anything to do with it. You know, I think she was probably saying that I was running back up the stairs, like it's not my fault.
Hey, it's just how it works sometimes.
I'm sure I'll hear it when I get back down there. But hey, the sound works, so that's all that's matters, right?
Very good, definitely. Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, hey, those shots are all cool, and I was thinking about how cool it would be if you and I took those and then we went out into like New York and started doing that in the middle of the city.
That would be fun.
People, you know,
would be fun.
Right up in their face.
It's well, I'm not sure the name of the photographer that's famous for doing that.
Bruce Gilden, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
It wasn't a Bruce Gilden kind of approach.
Yeah.
It was very slow.
And I would
wasn't flashing your face. Mm-hmm. It's funny because Seth was like, you should do it Bruce Gilden style. And I thought, you know what? That's not going to happen. No, that's not me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get punched in the eye.
Yeah, exactly. Or sprayed in the eye.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you could do that in New York. I think you could walk up to people with the right approach. And I think,
absolutely.
Actually, I think having a setup like that, and it sounds really cheesy, but I think it lends some sort of validity to what you're doing. People are a little less.
Some credibility on you too. That, like, hey, this guy's actually trying something. And we talked a lot about that, and I'm going to talk about the workshop in New York that we did, but yeah, that would have been really cool. So I think it's definitely possible.
I did make a huge mistake doing this though. It was the very last day and everybody was done and it was pretty much over. And I realized I still have somewhere an original Beastie Boys License to Ill cassette tape. I would have killed to have Say Adams autograph that. Yeah. So, but I have his card. He's got my card. I think I'm actually going to.
That'd have been cool.
Mail him and ask him if I can mail that to him. Prepaid the envelope or box or whatever. I'd love to have that autographed by him. So, but anyways,
it was cool, like holding it, man.
Oh man, it would have definitely been cool. But no, good time. Definitely a good time for sure.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I'm back and I can talk, so I'll do some screen share.
Sure.
All right. Let's see if I can. Should be pretty easy. I'm going back now. Are you seeing the Insta360 One? X. All right, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but I will tell. I'll just say one line.
Sure.
Maybe people will hear it. It's taken the last camera. It's redefined like the whole idea behind action cameras. Shooting 5.7K video, the slow motion, and you can actually speed up and slow down portions now of video within the video that you can never do before, right inside the phone app. So we'll move beyond that, and let me tell you, just keep looking for new videos. It's just been released. I mean, it's only a couple of days here, so on the 10th, lots of new videos, and I know when I get it, we'll talk a lot about it too on the show. So, all right, let's go into New York. We'll start on the first night before anybody else got there. I went out running around and looking to see what I could find, and I'm just love finding scenes that are natural frames to me. It's just one of the things I really like to do. So I saw this is a garbage can lid. I'm not too sure if you see my mouse in there or not, but this is a garbage can lid lifted up, and the light was right here, the street light on this side of the road. And what I did is I just positioned myself behind a pole that was actually next to this garbage can, set it all up, and there's enough people in New York that you get somebody walking by every minute. And I ended up catching this guy in a great stride, going through there and almost looking over to me. And I think one of the comments I had on this photo that I just loved, it says, "Isn't it great when people finally do what you expect them to do?" So yeah, when you're a street shooter, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah, it is really good. So that was shot with the Pen F and this. I went out with the 17-1/8 that night. I didn't even bring out the the 1.2. I went to the 1.8. And let's see, let's go to the next one. Again, same setup, Pen F and the 17-1/8 during the day. And this story here of this shot is really about cropping. This shot, if you were to see it in its regular status, and I probably should have grabbed that when I didn't, but it just looked like a boring shot looking down a subway. This is where people would come out from the subway, and I saw the eyes and the huge mural of the woman, and as this person was walking up, I just thought it was excellent that her eyes actually had caught the camera at the same time. And once I tilted it and really cropped it in tight, man, that just made the shot for me. It's got some noise in it. It's got some grain, some grit, but you know what? We're in New York City, and that's the way it happens. And when I get to the next one, you'll really see it. This one here is, and it might be hard to believe because I probably have 800 photos I think I took back from New York, and I've only got through about maybe 50. But this shot here is my favorite. It's probably the most blurry, rough-looking shot, but the emotion that I captured in this shot, it's the 17-1/8 as well, in the Pen F. And actually, this one was shot with the Dramatic Art #2 filter on. So in the last two, or the last one, was straight out of camera in monotone too. But this one here, when I saw that lady's face, I wasn't necessarily trying to grab it, but I got it at the moment I wanted. And so it's just one of those shots where it's got a New York feel to it. It's like the weight of the world on her. It's really interesting to me. So I look for timeless when I'm in New York, and I think you can find a lot of that there. On the last day, we went and took one of the ferries over to the Dumbo area, and while we were waiting, we've got these huge high-rises, and this was with the EM1 Mark II and the 12-100, zoomed in, and then I was teaching. At this moment, we were teaching about using the 2x magnifier, on using that option as one of your preset buttons, and that's what this one is. And so obviously this is a JPEG and shot just straight monotone. This is like using, I think Jamie does the same thing I do, boost up the sharpness, boost up the contrast, and a straight monotone shot. And this one actually reminded me, I don't know if Jamie's going to remember this game or not, but like I remember Cubert. Yeah, we got a Cubert feel to it when I cropped it. So I said, "Oh, this is Cubert." Jamie might know that game, and second, so then we went over and started working. This is all we were waiting for the ferry, and that's what's so cool. I think being in a workshop, and I know Jamie and I have the same experience constantly. Is when you got that downtime, is a great time for everybody to say, "Hey, try something, try something." So we started working on double exposure. We saw the moon way up far to the left. Told everybody how to, I got the 12-100 on with the EM1 Mark II. Use my 2x magnifier. I'm out there and I grab the moon. I come back and I get real wide on these buildings, and I drop that moon right in between the two buildings. And the key on this one that I had never done before, or even noticed, is making it that black and white straight monotone brought up the real nice high contrast of it all, and it actually looks better. So I'm starting to think maybe I'll shoot some of these in some black and white when we get the sky.
let me get this straight, because I think you just taught me something I didn't know. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So you're telling me that you can use the 2x magnifier.
Yep.
While you're working with the multiple exposure. So that moonshot is 100 millimeter in, using 2x magnification to double it to like 200.
Yeah.
And then your next shot is wider, I'm assuming.
Right. The next shot was real as wide as I could go, 12. Yeah, I went to 12
on I love
the next shot.
Olympus is so cool. That's awesome.
That's what I mean. And I'm pretty certain I did that. But yeah, you're saying it now, and I'm walking it through my head. I'm going, aren't those usually raw, those shots? But now that they're raw, in either case, it definitely made the difference, though, using like those settings that you use, where you boost up the sharpness and the contrast on your monotone. Sure. And I know we always talk about dramatic art, and we talk about the different monotone profiles on Pen F and all the different things. Just use the straight monotone in the camera on an EM1 Mark II is flipping awesome. Yeah. I mean, and it's got this great, because you can pick the color filter, obviously.
Yep.
That you want to use, and that's where you get the sky like that. So yeah, lots of fun, and I think those are the little things you walk away, and I know the people that we had on the workshop, and Jamie, you and I always experience this, is they walk away and they go, God, I learned about 10 things inside that camera I never even knew it could do, and I got to get back and try those at home, and I think that's the fun of doing it and keeping in touch. And the last one is I think Joe Edelman was just out here, and if he's watching, he would probably remember. I think last weekend he was working with what was he working with? A new EPL?
EPL 9, I think.
Yeah, the new EPL 9. But this is in the Dumbo area. We got over there late, and what I'd consider to be late, it's 10 a.m. I mean, depends on your perspective, I guess. But this is the famous shot. You try to, the Manhattan Bridge going across, you try to drop the Empire State Building there in the center. Look, there's greater times you could probably get this with no people. I just love it that there were people, because that street is crowded and it is not shut down. So there are cars coming all the time. And one of the funny things is where so many cars come by, I was doing my famous Wayne's World, car, and everybody had to get out of the street. And so I actually, one of the people that saw me was laughing, took a great group shot of us that day. So Joe said he was using the EPL 9 and the 12-100, and so I was using the EM1 Mark II and 12-100, and this is a 3-shot HDR, put together in Aurora, the new Aurora that was just released. So it's a cool shot. I mean, I think that depending on your time frame that you're in the day, you can get a lot of different angles on this thing. I actually found it better, and I'll just, one last thing, at the end of the street, if you ever get there, there's a railroad track and all these, just a really, paved stone street here, very bumpy. That one was actually more exciting, and I haven't released it yet or put it out or worked on it, but I got some great shots of the Brooklyn Bridge, which is over here on the left, all in reflections from puddles from the rain the night before. So I'm actually more excited about that one. I like this shot, but I think that one is, I'm a little bit more excited.
I'm a little disappointed. Not in your photo, but the fact that we were in that
I know.
same spot that night we were down there.
You have no idea what
had I realized I could have just
saying the word for word what I was telling Megan.
I know that I could have just turned because I walked past the bridge. I could have turned left and come up that street and then got that shot at night. I'm such a tourist.
Yeah, we really tourist that one out big time. And it's and I'm sorry I'm going to have to throw more people under the bus on this, but there were 6 visionaries on that walk.
Yeah.
Okay. And we were looking for the famous, of course, pylons, which were 50 feet further than we walked.
Yeah.
It was one of those nights where, you know what, we got to go back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, heck, it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning and we'd been busy all day traveling. And
I will say it was 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. So, so great workshop, New York City.
Cool.
And got another one planned. It's going to be the first weekend in May. More info to come on it, but first weekend in May of 2019. We'll have another one. And again, very small. And I know you and I tended to do that too. We're not going into 20 or 30 people.
Yeah, no, definitely
at all. And I don't think we ever want to get there.
Nope. Nope.
But come out, look at that. And you want to talk about 2019?
Yeah, I kind of gave everybody a little bit of a rundown of what our plans were. Similar, just to reiterate, similar to what we did this year with kind of putting the vote out to you guys. But like I said earlier, we put the vote out and we had a lot of weird suggestions too. I mentioned, Mike, you remember we got the North Korea vote. And so I told them what we were thinking about doing is you and I were probably going to brainstorm and put together between 5 and 7 locations throughout the country. Because the format that Mike and I like to work with, Mike's got an area that he's excels at, which is what you're seeing there, city and urban and street and people and architecture. And then I'm more the outdoorsy flowers and waterfalls and mountains and whatever, the landscape and nature and wildlife side of things. So Mike and I, we love the format that we've been doing for like 4 years now, where we incorporate, some city shooting and then also some wildlife or more rural type of setting as well. So that is probably the deciding factor on why Mike and I are going to cherry pick 5 to 7 locations throughout the country that allow us to be able to give you guys both sides of the workshop and then let you guys do the vote from there. So again, Mike and I will be talking and we should have some information by the end of the year. We'll have locations picked out, locations and rough time frames. Depending on where the location is chosen, that will most likely dictate when in the year that occurs.
Exactly.
It's funny that you mentioned first weekend in May for your New York City one. I think that's the time frame that Mark and I are looking at for the Smoky Mountains as well. So
that's hilarious.
We
did ours a week apart. The last time too. So that's good. That's good. So you know what that does? That opens up 51 more weeks for you and I to.
There we go.
The other one.
Before we sign off for the night, though, I just want to remind everybody that we're giving away a book. And if you missed the episode where I talked about giving away the book, the workshop that I did in the Upper Peninsula, one of the attendees is a photographer from Arizona, and she self-published this book that is just astounding. It's The Art of Macro Photography, and it is incredible. After seeing the book while we were on the workshop, I told her, I said, do you have any of those with you for sale? And she said, I have 2. I said, okay, I'm taking both of those because I want to give one away to one of our viewers and I'm keeping one for myself. Although it seems that my wife has kind of bogarted my copy and it's kind of lived on her nightstand. An incredible book. She's an Olympus photographer. So you will see not just, there's Olympus focused stuff in here as well as, just general macro photography information. A great book. We want to give it away to somebody. You've got until the next episode to submit a macro photo of yours and use the hashtag mirrorless macro. And please submit those images on Facebook, on our Facebook page, please, the Mirrorless Minutes Facebook group. Okay. Do a post over there with a macro photo with the hashtag mirrorless macro. You could also do it on Instagram or Twitter. I decided to open that up and just add some extra spots in there for you to do it as well.
Awesome, man. Does she talk about settings and everything in there too?
She can take
that's
a complete amateur. She can take a complete amateur and turn them into a macro wizard in no time.
I want to get one of those.
And it's cool because it doesn't focus on like, you know, just insects or just flowers. I mean, she's got water droplet photography. She's got, you know, everyday objects like shavings, so, you know, wood shavings. Awesome. It's awesome. It is awesome. And Karen Martin in the chat says she's got Amy's book as well. I know she knows Amy. Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a heck of a read. And if because of Amy, I'm gonna stand up here and grab this off my shelf. Because of Amy, I went out and got some extension tubes for my 60mm macro just to do some of the stuff she was doing on the workshop, which was astounding. So
wow, again, that is fantastic.
Again, until the next episode, that's when I'm going to announce who won it. Hashtag Mirrorless Macro. Show me your macro work, people. I want to give somebody this cool book.
Excellent.
That's it. I talked 100 miles an hour for as long as humanly possible.
And it's the first time I've ever run downstairs and come back up. So,
all right, you guys. So until the next episode, remember, get those macro photos shared out there. And don't forget to swing over to meetup.com/mirrorless adventures and sign up over there because this crazy, goofy duo might be coming to a town near you. And we'd like to hang out and shoot with you guys.
That would be great.
You guys take care, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you, everybody.